All right, today's video is all about replacing the leading edge on a kite and how to do so. Bunch of techniques built into that. It's very, very important that you follow the exact techniques. I don't want to add anything to this process. I don't want to subtract anything to this process. And this has been perfected over the course of since 2009, okay? So follow it exactly, and I guarantee you will always have a perfect install, okay? So this older kite, all the valves are bad. We can't just go replacing one valve at a time. We can do that, but eventually each one will need to be replaced, okay? So might as well just start fresh, order up a whole new leading edge, all right? So first things are the tools, right? You're gonna need a fishing pole with some line, just in case the line slips off your bladder when you remove it. You're gonna need your little snips so you can get rid of the zip ties, extra zip ties. Sometimes the leading edges will come with a little bag of zip ties. If not, have those ready to go. Of course, having some extra tubes are always great, just in case you want to fill it up before you do the struts. And then baby powder. Baby powder is the most important part of making sure that that leading edge bladder is actually lubricated. So if you have any twists, because maybe you didn't follow the techniques perfectly, then that bladder will actually mold and twist the right way, and hopefully not get damaged when you first fill it up. Of course, you need a screwdriver. Screwdriver is going to be what's holding the kite in place so you can do this job by yourself. 2 screwdrivers are better than 1, but 1 is good enough for us today. That's going to go right into the ground, so we're working in grass, so that's why the screwdriver works. If not, you're going to need some anchor points if you're working on concrete or something like that, okay? And of course, some water, because if you're doing it outside, it's going to get hot, all right? So here we go. Let's look at the leading edge. The leading edge right in the center is going to have a Velcro zipper. You're going to open that Velcro zipper. After you do that, you kind of open it up and expose that bladder. On this Cabrina, you have a screw and valve. The new bladder comes with a new valve, so we can go ahead and just remove this old one. Even though maybe that old one looks pretty decent and hardly worn, get rid of it. On the inside is going to be some Velcro. So most of the kite companies will have Velcro holding the main inflate. Some don't. Some just have clips, or some have even screws holding that valve in there. So just look at what's going on. And if you can't see, open it up and you see that Velcro is holding that valve on there. Pull that Velcro apart. Boom. So now your center fill is completely detached, all right? Next is going to be every single one of your struts will have a tube. The tube is going to be connecting from the center strut to the leading edge, and that's where this hose came from originally. So you're going to have to disconnect that, and then you're going to have to pull that hose off. You can set it to the side. If you're not doing struts, most likely you are, because you're doing a leading edge. If the leading edge is bad, the struts are bad, guaranteed, okay? Unless maybe you had like a leak of like a scratch or tear or something like that, okay? But so we get rid of that one. Now, as we go along, I'm trying to save some time. I don't want to do this right away. I'm going to open up this leading edge. The main seam from the leading edge needs to be flat. So you need to look at the inside of the leading edge, not the outside, okay? So inside. And you're going to walk your hands all the way down it and get to every single strut and start taking off the hoses. Like I said earlier, this one needs all new struts, so I'm just going to take the hoses off also. There's a zip tie on here. Most of the time you can just pull on the hose, but if it's a really old kite, take the little snips and get rid of those zip ties. Remember, we want to save all these parts and not lose them, so that's why I have this little baggie with me. I can start putting all those little parts in there. Or garbage. These Cabrinas or other companies have like clips that hold the valve on there, so start saving all those clips. The grass, it's pretty hard to find these clips, and these clips are really hard to find just as a replacement part. You're gonna push that valve through, boom, and move on to the next one. Remember, very important that you lay out that leading edge flat like this, okay? And you'll see why later. Save your parts. Save that clip. Push the valve through. Get all the way to the end. Still doing the same technique of getting that leading edge. Now here's where it turns the corner, okay? Because of the arc of the kite. You want to make that as straight as possible. And if it's not going straight, you just actually want to turn it or scrunch it up a little bit to get that as straight as possible. Reason being is when we put that leading edge in, we don't want that leading edge to twist at all. Down here is a little pocket. Stick your fingers in there. You got some Velcro on the inside. You can kind of see the Velcro. Pull that out. It's like a sock. And now expose the end of your bladder. Some kite companies will have like a little hole there. That's where we're going to attach our string. All right, here's where that screwdriver comes in handy. Every kite company has some sort of loop on the very end, most likely, and if not, you can use the bridle. We're just going to stick the screwdriver in the ground so that that wingtip stays in place, and then we're going to attach our line to the bladder. Although this one has a little loop, I prefer just to do, or a little hole rather, I prefer just to do like a loop and then a half hitch. This isn't a knot video, so look up half hitch if you need to. And then I kind of push it in just a little bit and add some tension to the line so that it doesn't free itself up. Maybe do another half hitch. Like that. Kind of push it in a little bit. And then I'm going to go down to that zipper and pull the bladder out. Because of that screwdriver in there, this is only a one-man show. Boom. Got the line. Undo your half hitches. All right. The bladder we can toss to the side. If you notice, wow, I just saw that, is one of the valves are gone. Okay. The owner of the kite told me that he removed one, all right? Sometimes they will peel off and be left in the leading edge. So be prepared for that. If you don't know where every valve is, make sure that you press on that leading edge and look for it. Because once you install the new one and you inflate it, that valve that's just floating around inside of there will pop it. So make sure you don't do that, okay? All right, so that side's out. Now we can start working on putting the new bladder in. You could take the old bladder out completely with two lines, or I just like to work a little more efficiently and not have to jump back and forth from sides. So I'm just going to do one side at a time. We have to look at the bladder and understand which side is which. So this is our fill and this is our first strut. If you notice, the strut, it comes out on the right side. Sometimes it comes out on the left side. So make sure that you're setting up the bladder for success, all right? So we want to stretch it out a little bit. Now this bladder's been pre-lubricated with baby powder. But we want to go ahead and add some more baby powder to it. I just make it into a big ball. More the merrier. If you get a lot on the kite, then you're gonna have to wash the kite later. All right, so you're gonna set yourself up for success and do an accordion with the bladder so that the valves are on top. So when you pull it back through that leading edge hole, it goes in perfectly square. All right, Here's the very important side, is that when you tie this knot, you don't have it come undone on accident. So really make sure you tie a good knot. All right, you're gonna put it in. All right, here's the important side, is knowing that you need some sort of indication when you come out the end of the wingtip, which one is top and which one is bottom. I could see on this kite, or on this bladder, that the writing is on the bottom, and also this logo is on top. No logo on the bottom. So when it comes out the end, that logo needs to be on top. It's an indication that I'm doing things right if that happens. Additionally, if you see this seam versus this seam, there's not too much difference, but on some bladders, you only have a seam on one side and a fold on the other. That seam will match up this one and to this one, dependent, okay? So you're looking for all these indications as you're pulling it through the leading edge. Remember earlier I flattened it out, and it's super important to keep it flat like that. Extremely important. Come on down to the end, and you're gonna start pulling this string through. Look down on the end to make sure that bladder is going in square to that zipper. Every strut, you'll have to walk back there and push it into the zipper. Don't go yanking on the bladder. You'll come down here, put that strut in, walk back down, pull that string. Look down, make sure that everything's going in nice and square. There's another strut. We have 5 struts on this kite. Put it through that zipper. Back down here. All right, here we are. We're coming up on where the bladder comes out the end. Look, logo's on top, no logo on the bottom, writing's on the bottom. Perfect. We can disconnect that line. And we're gonna do a double check on the struts to see how far we have to pull it out. All right, right now it's a couple inches out. We're gonna look back down here to the very first strut. That strut's way over here. It is on top, I can feel it, okay? So it went in correctly, but I need to get that strut past it and then pull it back to the opening. So that's the key. Pull that strut to here and then pull it back to the opening, okay? So I'm gonna go down here, and that's about 4 more inches. Boom. Keep that square. And I'm gonna go back to the first strut. I pulled it past, and now I'm gonna bring it back in. The reason you do that, so that the bladder has a little bit of wiggle room, because the bladder is actually bigger than the cavity, that area inside. And this is not easy on Cabrini. Other kite companies, you'll actually be able to stick your finger in there and move it around and whatnot. What you don't want to do is have any twisting. We finally got this the valve through. We want to hold on to it and pull that bladder away from that valve so there's no pinching going on in the inside. And then we'll pull it through the leading edge. All the way through. And on to the next. What you'll be doing is just repeating that process on all 3 struts and then moving on to the next side. All right, so here's where we get into putting that valve back in, the main valve, the inflate valve. We've already got all those struts done. We're gonna actually put our hand inside, and it's gonna have Velcro just like the original OEM one. And in that Velcro is going to be this little tab. There's a little tab right there. And most kite companies will have that, okay? And that tab is going to be parallel or in line with that leading edge, okay? So that when you line up this hole, you want to make sure that there's no bladders in the way So you kind of put your hand all the way around the hole, and then make sure no bladder's in the way, and make sure that little tab is square with pointing down that leading edge. And then you're just gonna attach it, okay? Now I'm not gonna go through the whole ordeal of putting this kite 100% back together, meaning like I'm not gonna put this little keeper on there, and I'm not gonna be putting all the zip ties and stuff on yet, because I wanna test it in case I mess up. I don't have to undo the work that I've done. But for now, I could just put this valve on, just screw it in. And now we're gonna have to repeat that same process over on the left side of the kite. The key thing here is that we do not want to disturb this side of the kite. We want to make sure this side of the kite stays exactly the same. We don't want to lift it or turn it or twist it, all right? So now we're going to do the same thing on the left side. Okay, here we are. We already got that bladder fished out of there. We got our line already here, and we're going to be looking at that bladder. Reminder, make sure you know that this side is going to have no logo on top. So logo on bottom, no logo on top. As you go through and it comes out the end, make sure that that's the case, okay? We've already set ourselves up for success with baby powder and accordion style, so that now that bladder is going to go in there really nice and smooth and square. And then additionally, we got that leading edge perfectly flat and as square as possible in a straight line. Like that. All right, here we go. Keep that bladder flat. Bladder goes in, might get hung up on that. Oh, nice. Didn't get hung up on that strut valve. And that one got snagged. Oh, Tanner's in for the assist. Very nice. And here we are coming out the end. I'm still looking up there to make sure that bladder is square. And then just like last time, we already did that side. I just want to make sure that I go out about maybe 8 inches. That's what worked for that side, so work for this side. Undo my knot. Pull it through. We'll leave it like this, and no logo on top. That's great, perfect. So we'll go over to the first strut, and you guys have already seen this part. Just redo that, okay? So find the strut valve and pull it through. Okay, so we're getting to the final stages of inflating this kite, all right? We're gonna stuff this bladder back in, spread it out, and make sure that we pull this flap out in front of the zipper so the zipper's not touching the bladder itself. We'll zip it closed. Kind of have a golden rule: once you touch the zipper, make sure you close it, okay? Make sure that Velcro is good, valve is all set. And now we don't have our struts in yet, so what we're actually gonna do, the golden rule is actually to put your struts in first, but for this video we wanted to show you the leading edge. So it is actually adding some work to us. We're gonna go ahead and take these tubes off, put them on. You're gonna do this on every strut and close off those valves. All right, and just run right through the kite and do that to all of them. Good. Okay, so we gotta make sure before we inflate this kite, we look over everything that we've touched. Wingtips are always forgotten. We gotta make sure that we do that before we do any kind of inflating. So any opening, the zipper, the struts, and the wingtips. Don't forget this part, okay? These bladders are not cheap. So we're gonna slide them in all the way, and this last bit of fabric is gonna be right on the end, okay? Once we get it in the end, we can kind of look at the original folding areas and kind of mimic what was already done. When in doubt, just kind of replicate what they did at the factory. Now we have to slide it in and make sure it lines up on that Velcro really nicely, and make sure that you open up that fabric on the end like that. So nice and full. all right? We're gonna do that on both sides. Here's the most important part about this whole entire process, where you've literally just followed the rules perfectly. You've had this leading edge strut, or leading edge, perfectly square, folded, flat on the ground, as straight as possible as you put the bladder in. The bladder went in absolutely perfect, but if you don't do this step, you're gonna mess it all up and have to take the bladder right back out, okay? We're gonna fill it up halfway. So add that air nice and slow, okay? Sometimes with new bladders, it might fill up on just the right side or the left side. And what you can do is put your hand down like this, and then it'll start filling up on the other side. You're gonna go halfway, okay? Approximately halfway, and then you're gonna stop. So it's filling up. We're almost halfway. Here we are, we're coming up on halfway, and we're gonna stop, okay? So what we're gonna do is take that leading edge, roll it over. Very important. As we're rolling it over, we can push on it. We're not massaging it, we're not changing any direction, and we're not lifting it up. You can stretch it out, push on it, but mainly you're gonna roll it over. You're gonna do that all the way down it, okay? Roll it over and push down on it. Roll it over, push down on it. All right, perfect. Okay, here we are. We've just filled up halfway, and we've rolled it over, and we pushed down on it. We're gonna nice and slow fill it up. All right, perfect. So we look down the leading edge. There's no indentations anywhere. So we're doing pretty good. But I get down here, this is a perfect example. I messed up. Look at this indentation right here, right? That's where you stop. You can't go any further. That's a full twist on the leading edge. We're literally not going to be able to fix that without taking it completely apart. So this is a perfect example where to stop. Don't go any further, okay? Additionally, down here, you can see another indentation on the end. So this whole leading edge went in wrong. Somewhere along the line, I didn't do one of the steps correctly. And what I remember is that this strut was really, really hard to get in there, okay? So I'm gonna stop, take it out, put it back in. So in closing, what we had to do is we had to actually take that leading edge out and reinstall it. There's no easy way about it. You can't just twist it. You can't like mold it. You can't massage the leading edge to get it just right. It'll never be perfect, right? So just take it out, put it back in, and then you might get perfect, okay? So don't waste your time with that whole nonsense of massaging, all right? So lots of tips and tricks, a lot of pro tips here. Make sure that you follow them exactly. This has been acquired over, since 2009, exactly how to make this process as easy and also as fast as possible. Remember, this leading edge isn't 100% done yet. We only have the tubes just barely on it. We still got to do our zip ties. We still got to make sure that the clips get on there, and we still got to make sure that we inflate everything and leave it out here for at least 20 minutes to make sure that the work was done properly, okay? So this is Aaron with Elite Watersports. Make sure that you follow the steps, and if you like this video, like and subscribe to us, and we'll have more coming down the pipeline. See you later.